Robin and I have 4 days until we need to leave Harwich Port. All the summer boats are starting to come in and all of these slips are claimed, so we got to get out of here. But we need to spend a couple of those days in Western Mass with my mom. It'll be good to see her. It's been a couple weeks, and my sisters could use the reprieve, so she's got a couple appointments that we're going to take her to. And since we're headed back to Western Mass, it's a great time to take the things off the boat that we don't need for the summer. So all of our winter clothes and boots are going to no longer be needed. We can take some of the fenders back, and we can take these really big, beefy dock lines that we've been using back, because we are not going to be tied up to a dock any longer. We're going to be on the anchor and the mooring, and maybe occasionally a dock, but back to pretty much anchoring and mooring and being on the move. When we were in Rockland, we got rocked by a really big storm, and we were getting hauled out the next day, and we just kind of had to be there. And it's blowing snot, and it's rained sideways, and all of a sudden we hear, "Arabella, Arabella!" And Josh from the schooner Hindu is standing there on the dock, soaking wet with fenders and arms full of lines, and he brought us these really big, beefy dock lines. So we've been using these all winter. We've had one tied to the Samson post here, and then back to a cleat and across to one on the other side, and we've got another one in the stern. They take up quite a bit of room, and they're not something that we really need to have on the boat for the summer. So I'm gonna get those taken off and take a couple of the fenders off and get us just moved over and tied up to the dock. And thank you, Josh, so much for these lines. They've been perfect for being here for the winter, and any of the blows that we have, I haven't worried about them at all, because we could chafe halfway through these things and still be strong enough. So they were really great to have, but time to pop them off and put them in storage and hopefully not need them next winter. I'm really hoping we're not tied up to a dock all of next winter. We'll see what happens.
After a long winter sitting still in port, the day came to move the boat from Harwich to Mattapoisett. And lucky for me, I was finally able to come along and go out for my first sail on Arabella. I woke up in Amesbury at 4 a.m. and headed down to Buzzards Bay Yacht Services, where Arabella spent the last crazy weeks before launch. Steve and Robin met me with their truck at sunrise, and we took a quick walk in the yard where it looked like a busy time getting all the boats ready to launch for the season.
I'll edit this out.
You'll edit this out.
No worries.
And after a quick hour's drive back to the boat, Steve and Robin got the last things all set for the first sail of 2024.
Time to go sailing. It's been a whirlwind few days. We got back from England. We were on the boat for a night, had to race back to Western Mass, spend a few days with Mom, back on the boat for a night to Robin's parents' house to collect Ben, who's now behind the camera.
Hello.
To race back to Harwich Port, to get out of here, to get over to Ed's, to get the boat tied to a mooring, to go back to Western Mass and take my mom to her next type of chemo. So it was busy. But I'm super excited. The weather's beautiful. This will be Ben's first time sailing with us, yes, which is hard to believe between his kid and the theater and my mom and the boat and the schedules. It just hasn't worked out, but we're snaking it in right before the year anniversary launch. Stack packs are on, reefs are in, engine switches fixed. I mean, so many little things got done this winter, and we get to go test them out today. Hopefully not break anything, but we'll see what happens. So today we're gonna head out of here, and plan is to go to Cuttyhunk, and then tomorrow it'll be a run up Buzzards Bay and back to Mattapoisett, where this whole on the water journey started, which is it's pretty wild to go back to Mattapoisett, like almost to the year of when we launched. It's gonna be a few weeks early. So I think at this point we can unhook from shore power, get the systems fired up, untie some dock lines, and get the heck out of here. Initially, there was a key here, which we very promptly broke off with our butts when we were trying to steer and move and do things. So the key stayed broken off all of last season in the on position. So you'd have to go down below, find the battery switch, turn it on, you get this annoying beeping sound, you'd run back up here, you'd start the diesel. When you wanted to kill the diesel, you had to go back down below, reach over the fridge, and shut off the air intake to the engine to basically stall it out because the key was broken. So I went through the process of calling the company in Germany that makes the switches and getting a compatible switch, although it was backwards, so I had to relabel the on and offs. But now we can leave the battery switch on when we're out moving around and doing things, and we can start and stop from here just as it was intended. So we can turn it on, and we're gonna get that annoying beeping sound.
Though no one on board knew it at the time, this was the moment to avoid something down the line that ended up putting us in a bit of a situation.
So bye, Steve.
Adios. All right, we gotta get moving before we clip this.
Whether it was the excitement to get going on the first sail, the stress of having so many things happening on land that make living on the water difficult, or just inexperience on the water. The moment was missed as we carried on out of the harbor.
So we're leaving at low tide, so we have as little water as there ever is.
Yeah.
But it also kind of makes it a little easier to see the channel. And since we're just past low tide, if we do bump into this muddy bottom here, we're not going to have to wait long for it to come up, which is kind of nice.
You see that red marker up on the left?
Yeah.
Just, I think you're gonna want to tug that. You want that tight on your left, I think. So this is where
Can
all
you
the
adjust the
birds-
chart plotter again?
Is that okay?
In a bit more. Yeah, there you go. Is there any way you can get that to flip so it's facing the direction we're going? So like forward is at the top of the screen?
That's what it is. It's the stop panning button.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna go stow the fenders and the lines and stuff.
Okay. What a day to sail.
So today we should have more of a downwind run. And downwind run so far for us has been a little squirrely. And I think we should put more sail up forward. So we're gonna try a full main with a jib and see how the boat balances, and then we'll go from there.
Because I'm going to have to kind of point us back towards Cuttyhunk, really.
Yeah, no, you're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're all right. Just watch the chart plotter and make sure we seem good. All right, you ready to fly the jib?
that jib back up here.
Yeah. Well, I got a little wrinkle in the sail. I think I might be able to loosen up those reef lines a little bit, give them a little more slack now that that's not settled out. Jib's flopping around. It's pretty light.
Our entire 50-mile downwind sail that day was done on one tack, with mostly a following sea. Going past Martha's Vineyard, the temperature warmed up, and we were making great time toward Cuttyhunk Island. Hoping to get tied up and start dinner around 6:30. But fate caught up with us at about 6 o'clock, when we turned the engine back on to motor into the marina. An oil pressure light immediately went on, and just before the first buoy of Cuttyhunk's narrow channel, the engine went dead. Fortunately, the wind was blowing towards us, and away from the shallows. And fortunately, the engine died just before we entered the channel and not after. And fortunately, Steve had told me to free the tie-downs on the anchor chain just in case we needed to deploy it in an emergency, which we did. We hooked up just outside the channel in deep enough water to feel safe. Thinking that we could still sail around to the other side of the island and anchor again to be more protected, Steve tried to raise the anchor, but it was solidly attached to something below and it wasn't letting go. And with no power to drive over it to try to release it, we weren't going anywhere.
Okay.
With the light fading and the seas calming, we made the decision to sit tight for the night, rather than have the towboat arrive to us in the dark. Steve let out about 50 more feet of chain and turned on every light we could to be visible.
I mean, we have everything we need.
We have everything.
We can
we
launch
need.
the tender, take a heave it ashore. I mean, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
He was being pretty hard on himself for forgetting to check the oil in the engine before we left, and was imagining having to leave the stuck anchor behind. Robin made dinner while Steve took a kiva to shore in the tender, and we settled in for a noisy evening bobbing in the waves.
It's here.
Yeah, it definitely looks like them.
Yeah. Dang it.
I'm gonna go see if you can see the prop and see if we picked up anything on it. Oh, thank you. Oh yeah. There you go. That's not going anywhere. You want me to start hauling on the anchor?
Wait until I get some tension on it. Otherwise, you're just gonna be right these so far straight.
Okay, yeah.
See if kind of getting you in front of the anchor is enough to pull it up. But it might take a minute. I'm just tethering off you right now.
There she is. You're not. Great. Yeah, it was like 7 o'clock last night, and we're like, we're stuck. And then we checked the forecast, and everything was dying down, and we're like, we're just gonna stay stuck until daylight, and it's calmer and quieter, and we're not trying to do this at midnight.
You know what? That's basically ideal. I mean, think about if your anchor was stuck and it's dark, and I'm trying to, de-anchor the thing. I mean, it can get pretty complicated, especially in an area like this. You know.
Yeah. It's like motoring without listening to the motor. I'm so glad the anchor just came up. I was optimistic it would.
It's nice seeing it loose, hanging straight down.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't feel like any resistance. can see the bridges and we can see a little spit of land because of the way the horizon is and how high they are. The fact that the earth is round, they look like they're just floating out on the water. That's so cool. Morning, Ed. Better now. We were facing in a different direction because the wind and stuff had shifted and it came right up. Yep. We got really lucky.
Super lucky. We can do Arabella University this summer.
Yeah, that's the plan for both of us.
Yeah.
Through the center of the cleat. So I'm actually going to lead this aft. We're going to go over the top of that winch. Okay. If you don't mind, you don't have to make any turns on it. It's just going to come back to me. I want to make sure it's not going to interfere with that stay. What year is this boat?
Believe it or not, at 2023. Yeah, I built it. Cut down trees, built lumber, poured the ballast steel, a whole shebang.
Kidding. Yeah, I didn't know if it was. I even like jokingly said to the old next time to my dad, the office, I'm like, oh man, unless he relicked it. We just installed these recently. I'm surprised it's not broke on it.
All right, we're on.
Because you have to get on the tip. But you're rocking and rolling and stuff. Sometimes we'll put the boat on the
Hey,
on the string
that's enough.
because it gets too rough over here on the southwest.
That's enough.
So I'm gonna pop this off, and I'm just gonna have you hang on to it once again. So if you swing, the stern's not gonna fly away on you. All right.
Perfect.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah,
Stay
take it
warm.
easy. Thank you.
There she goes, the love of your life.
One that got away. If you support us on Patreon, thank you for helping to bring these videos to the world every week. Come back next Friday where Steve finds out if any permanent damage was done to the engine. And if not, Arabella will begin making way through the Cape Cod Canal and back to Maine to spend the summer helping his mom and getting more experience with the boat.